What's up, guys? This is Tai Zen. I'm broadcasting from what highway are we on? The 405.
We're
105. The 105, and we are heading into downtown Los Angeles. And with me today, guys, is the Honorable Grandmaster, legendary, world-renowned LeonFu.com. Say hello, Leon.
Hey guys.
Right?
Yes.
So in this video, guys, we're going to answer one of the our Twitter followers' questions. Which one is it? Can you pull it back up again?
This one is about from BTC Kyle.
Okay, and what's he asked us to talk about?
He's asking us to speak about security tokens, Polymath, Bnk To The Future, TZero, stuff like that.
Okay, so basically, so there's a bunch of different what Leon and I classify as cryptocurrency buckets. Okay, and in the world of cryptocurrencies, things such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, things like that we put in the currency bucket. Things like Neo, Ethereum, and projects like that we put in the smart contract bucket.
Yeah.
And then you got things like Monero, Zcash, Particle, Pivx, Bitcoin Private. What else? A bunch of Zencash.
Zencash, yeah.
Yeah. So those we put in the privacy coin bucket. Okay. So in this question that BTC Kyle, and just in case you guys don't know, BTC Kyle is a fellow YouTuber. He's been into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies for a while. He's not new to it, like some of the clowns that we have that just bought their Bitcoin last month. I've seen him online and for a while now, so he's not new to the cryptocurrency game. So he was asking us to talk about what we call the securities tokens bucket. But before we get to what is a security token and the value behind it, let's talk about what is a stock first, because you have to understand how it's been done in the past before you understand how it's done in the future, or how it's going to be done in the future, right? So you want to talk just a quick description about what is a company stock and what that means and what it's used for?
Yeah, so we stocks represent equity in a company, and we had discussed in a previous video the concept of equity, right? Mm-hmm. So stocks are basically, you're trading the ownership of a company or a fraction of the ownership of a company, and we call those things securities. Yeah. Securities are just standardized financial products such as stocks, bonds,
And why do companies issue stocks?
Many reasons. There's a way to raise money for new business ventures, a way to allow the existing owners to sell off a portion of their ownership, like the founders, a way to reward their employees. Mm-hmm. But the old way of doing it, it's a highly regulated industry. Your mom and pop shop can't just start selling stocks of their company.
How come the small businesses cannot issue stocks?
Well, because in every country, including mm-hmm. America, there is what we call securities law. And in America, the agency that enforces these laws is called the SEC.
Yeah. Well, they make those laws, and I think FINRA is the one that enforces it, is the law enforcement one.
Sure. FINRA is like the financial crimes. I think it is.
FinCEN.
FinCEN is the one, right? But the SEC enforces all kinds of securities laws, right? There's just too many. There are too many to go over in this segment, but it's just the thing we need to know is it's very expensive and very time-consuming for a company to securities to the public, and that's why only big companies, it tend to be larger companies
that can afford to
issue stocks, and that's what you hear on the NASDAQ or the stock exchange.
So for example, right, so that the audience, the cost, the legal cost to be able to register your stocks and then be able to issue it to the public, that's just so that the audience knows, right? So you guys know, whenever we hire a securities attorney to review our products and services and everything, that's a very specialized field. and you can expect anywhere between like, you know, in the $600 per hour range all the way up to like $1,200–1,500 per hour range for a qualified securities attorney. Okay, so that's why it's not very feasible. It's not very realistic for the general public or a small company to be able to issue stocks like the big companies do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what stocks are in a company. So now let's just use an example of when you bought stocks in the wallet software called Exodus.
Yes.
So for full disclosure, guys, you know, we have team members that invest in the Exodus wallet. So there's going to be an inherent conflict of interest whenever you guys hear us say good things about the Exodus wallet. And just so you guys, if you guys are new to our channel, just be aware of that. And also know that we don't ever talk about softwares that we invest in that we don't believe in, okay? We do believe in the projects that we invest in, okay? So talk about how you invested into the Exodus wallet software.
Yeah.
And bought stocks in it, and now it's trapped in there?
Yeah, so this isn't just Exodus. This is any private company you might invest in. Any startup, whether it's a tech startup like Exodus, a software company, or if you start up, you know, a coffee shop, right, or a nail salon, or any other, you know, small business or family-run business. They all have the same problem, is that they're not able to cash out the value of their business as an owner, because they're not allowed to issue stocks of their companies to the public. Right? So it's very, very difficult for them to say, hey, you know what, I got this business and I want to sell off 10% of it to an outsider. It's nearly impossible for a small business to do that. Including Exodus, right? And now the business has grown tremendously since you got into it. I got into it, and
we know the value of the stocks that you invested in has gone way up significantly.
Way up. But I can't trade it, right? And neither can anyone else.
And so when you can't trade, that means you can't buy it.
I can't buy it.
You can't sell the stocks that you own.
Yes, I
can't. And then other people can't buy it from you or other.
Until Exodus negotiates a deal with, say, let's just say they get bought out by a bigger company. Then
or they go public and get listed.
Or they go public and listed, which, like we said, is very costly. So they would have to grow quite a bit before they could afford to do that. In fact, even though they've grown tremendously, they have to still grow a lot much more before they could even consider doing what we call an IPO, right? Getting listed on, say, the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, or even a smaller exchange, right? So that's where that's a good segue into what these securities tokens would be.
You know, so let's talk about securities tokens. So what's the difference between a security token versus a stock? What are some of the benefits of using the securities token technology instead of issuing like a stock certificate like most regular companies do? Like the current process that we have right now, where companies issue stock certificates to raise money.
For example, the whole idea of what the promise of blockchain-based securities tokens is, we can dramatically reduce the cost of issuing a security, right? Because with a regular stock, you can't hold it yourself, right? You have the cost of, say, you know, your brokers holding it, and what is that clearinghouse that I can't recall.
BTCC.
BTCC.
The Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation,
which really owns all the stocks. Right.
They're the ones that clear all the stocks, the massive majority of all the stocks in America. And really, you can't trade stocks without going through an exchange. You have to go through the New York Stock Exchange. So basically,
one of the dozens of smaller exchanges in Philadelphia, whatever, right? With the whole promise of blockchain securities is, you can send, if I have let's say Exodus, if Exodus creates a security token, then I could send it directly to you.
And you don't even need an exchange.
I don't even need an exchange.
Because the blockchain technology allows us to eliminate the need for a middleman when we don't want it.
So we could just make a deal right here. Like, assuming you are an accredited investor and you still meet all, you still need to follow all the securities law. That doesn't, that's not what blockchain tokens eliminate, but the platforms,
as long as it meets all the legal, I meet all the legal requirements,
but
and
that's
you meet
part of the as long as we both meet the legal requirements, we've done the KYC. We're accredited investors. And that's the promise of some of these investments is that they call it compliance in a box. Right. Like as long as here's a box, and as long as you fill out these forms and these templates, and you can drastically reduce the cost of complying with the securities law.
Okay, so like what's the major crypto project out there right now from Canada that is working on building
Polymath?
These security tokens standards.
So we think of securities as stocks of companies, right?
Okay.
But another promise of these blockchain tokens is we can start securitizing different kinds of assets. Such as like when we were in London, we saw a project trying to securitize buildings. Real estate, right? Where you could then...
Okay, so let's just make let's make an example. How about we talk about like the Freedom Tower in the building in Saudi Arabia, the tallest building in the world right now.
So theoretically, you could take a large skyscraper.
Let's say it's $1 billion.
$1 billion, and it's pretty hard to find someone who can afford to buy a $1 billion building, right? But if you could securitize them and divide them up into, say, a million pieces that represent 1/1,000,000th of an ownership.
Or let's say 1 billion pieces, just so the math is easy.
1 billion pieces, right? Then you can now say you can buy a piece of this skyscraper for, say, $1, right? And you would get that proportion of rent that the tower brings in, right? We would divide it up. You pay the management company, and whatever's left over is then distributed out to the token holders.
Right? And that's an easier and more efficient way to do it, technology-wise.
That's right.
Than if we tried to sell 1 billion stock certificates to 1 billion people.
Yes, and right now there's not really a direct way to do that. You would have to put the building into like an LLC or company, and then you would then have to issue stocks of that company. You couldn't directly issue ownership of the building itself.
Okay.
Right. So there's a whole bunch of assets that I see. We call this. I think the term is tokenization of assets. You could. And
it's not just buildings. Like we're driving down the Interstate Highway 110 right now towards downtown Los Angeles.
That's the key word.
The highways here can be tokenized by
we call it securitization, right? If taking an asset, dividing it up into standardized pieces, and then selling them off to the
to raise money,
to raise money, or to liquidate the asset, right? It's like, hey, you know what? I own this asset, and I don't want to sell all of it, or it's hard. I can't find a buyer to sell all of it because it's just like $1 billion. Like, how many people on the planet could actually buy that, right? But if we could, divide them up into standardized pieces and sell them off, we could sell off 5%, 10%, 20%, and then you could get, you could diversify your assets that way.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that Polymath sets the standard or the compliance in the box so that when a small business or a company or an organization wants to issue to securitize their asset, like a building, like a highway infrastructure project, or to raise money for in a small company or any kind of company, right? Then they can use the Polymath standards.
So what my understanding, and full disclosure, we're investors in Polymath.
So we have to disclose, guys, that we are investors in the Polymath project. So there's going to be an inherent conflict of interest.
In addition, I'm an advisor too. So there's another disclosure.
Okay, and then Leon's an advisor on their project. So that we have team members on our team that are advisors on the Polymath project. So just full disclosure, guys, so that you guys are fully aware of that.
So they're going after things, as far as my understanding, are things that you could not normally securitize. These are businesses that could be too small, or just assets that don't trade, like buildings, right? There's things that right now, that could be farmland or something that it's an asset. It produces revenue, it produces profit, but there's no way to sell a piece of it. Right. So things like that. There's many projects. They have competitors too. trying to go after the same space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Polymath is the biggest one that we know of,
Yes.
and the most well-known one that we know
at
of.
this time,
Okay.
yes.
So now, once, let's just say that someone decides to raise money for the what is that? The Bank of California Stadium?
I guess so. That looks
Yeah.
like a new stadium.
I don't know.
They're working on
It
that
doesn't look
stadium.
like it's very new. It looks like they're rebuilding
It
it.
looks like they're remodeling it or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, let's just say, for example, guys, this is just an example so you guys understand it for illustrative purposes only. Let's just say that a company goes in and they want to build that Kingdom Tower in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah, in the city of Jeddah, I think it is,
Yeah.
in the country of Saudi Arabia. And they want to issue 1 billion security tokens to represent a fraction ownership of the entire building in order to raise money. And let's just say that we put in, you know, $1 million, right? Well, then you'll get 1 million tokens that represents that proportion of ownership of that building. Okay, and this is an excellent way for businesses to raise money to build large-scale projects like that. Okay, I mean, this is going to be like the tallest building in the world, and then afterwards, instead of having our money trapped in it, then that means that you and I can take those security tokens that represent ownership of that Freedom Tower, and we can buy it and sell it to each other.
Directly or through an exchange?
Or through an exchange.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the minute that they issue the tokens, it becomes instantly what they call liquid on Wall Street, which means liquid means that we have the ability to sell that token if we own it, or if we don't own it, we have the ability to go to someone else that owns it and then buy it from them.
Yes.
Okay. And without the need for a middleman. And that is not something that is easily available to do on the with a stock certificate right now at the moment, because most of the stock certificates are being held by a company called DTCC in New York. And if you want it, then you got to reach out to them, contact them, and they'll send you the stock certificates once you show that you own those stock certificates.
Do they even do that anymore?
Huh? I mean, I think that I've heard of some people saying that they still get that, you know, right. They still get that just so that they can say that that they.
But my understanding, it's not like like you own it, but there's still registration and
it's not easily transferable,
easily tradable,
without the help of a middleman.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So now we talked about what stock certificates are traditionally, how it's used to raise money and represent ownership, fractional ownership of a company, and how they can use it to raise money. Then we transition into talking about what is a securities token. And then we talked about Polymath being one of the key players out there and one of the major players out there to set the standards for a securities token so that it's as much compliant as possible with the laws and regulations of the major westernized countries, right? Now, let's talk about TZero, right? So, full disclosure, guys, before we talk about TZero, we are also investors in TZero. So just so that you guys know, so that you guys are aware that what the things that we say about TZero could potentially be an inherent conflict of interest, okay? So after the Freedom Tower, in the example that we talked about, after the folks that issue the securities tokens for the Freedom Tower, now that token can be put on an exchange to be traded. However, because it's a securities product, it has to be traded on an exchange that is regulated and registered with the SEC in America and with the correct financial authorities in the EU and other countries. So you can't just put a securities product on any exchange to be traded. It has to be a registered, properly registered exchange that complies with the country's financial laws and regulations, okay? Mm-hmm. So TZero is a securities token exchange that is being created by a gentleman named Patrick Byrne. He's extremely famous for being the CEO and founder of Overstock.com, and he has been fighting the guys on Wall Street to get rid of some of the shenanigans that they do on Wall Street. And so he's well known for fighting and combating and been very outspoken about combating these issues that they have on Wall Street that is not fair. Okay, so he is setting up this securities token exchange so that folks can, once businesses list or create the securities token, there will be a legal and proper exchange that can list it and folks can trade it on the market. Okay, so that's what TZero is, right? What was the other thing that that Kyle talked about? He asked about?
Oh, he
Bnk To The Future.
Bnk To The Future.
Okay.
Yes.
So the other thing too is that Bnk To The Future is another platform.
Yes, and in fact, we invested through Exodus through Bnk of the Future.
Yeah, we did not invest into the Bnk To The Future token, the BFF token.
No, we did not.
We just used their platform when they originally offered. Our team members used their platform when they offered the Exodus wallet stocks to the public, or to the accredited investors. I mean, okay. So, what the BFF token that is provided by Bnk To The Future, and Chris Dixon is the guy that runs Bnk To The Future, and he did reach out to us to do an interview with him about Bnk To The Future tokens. Okay, and that was something that we considered, but at the time that he contacted us, it was like the last few days of his ICO, and we were in the middle of preparing for our cryptocurrency investing bootcamp in Dallas. So because of that, our focus was there and not on the BFF token. So we completely did not have the time, the mental energy to fully research it, to consider whether or not we should get into it. So we're just neutral about the BFF token. We don't favor it or disfavor it or anything like that. We just did not have time to do the proper due diligence that we normally do, simply because when they contacted us, it was just at the inappropriate, just bad timing.
It's bad timing.
Yeah, bad timing. That's all.
Yeah. And my daughter was being born.
and Leon's first child was being born. So here's a glimpse of downtown Los Angeles, guys, right here. Okay. So they're doing some construction there. Okay. So anyways, the Bnk To The Future token is there. I think that my understanding, we did not do a lot of research into it, guys, but our understanding is that they're doing similar to what whatchamacallit? The Polymath.
Yeah.
Okay. So trying to do is try to create some kind of technology to where companies can issue a securities token and be able to raise money with it and be able to do it in a compliant, government compliant way. Now, so Polymath, BFF, the Bnk To The Future token, and there's another one that's being done. Those two are what is considered a pre-mined token, which means that it was issued from the very beginning, right? There's no proof of work or anything that is involved with that. But there is another project that Kyle did not bring up in his suggestion tweet right there, and that's called Ravencoin, and it's a project that is being done by Bruce Fenton and his team. And it's interesting how they're doing this proof of work coin called Ravencoin, and the goal of that is to also create some kind of security token platform, is from my early understanding.
Okay.
I haven't done deep research into it yet because we've been busy preparing and completing the cryptocurrency investing bootcamp for our clients. But my understanding is that the Ravencoin, and full disclosure, guys, I'm invested into Ravencoin, so just full disclosure on there, so that you guys can be aware that there could potentially be an inherent conflict of interest there, since I'm talking about it and I'm invested into the coin itself. Okay, so the Ravencoin, I think, has some type of is an alternative that Bruce Fenton and his team are trying to build to do something similar to what Polymath is doing and Bnk To The Future is doing. Okay, it's Patrick Byrne, the CEO of Overstock.com, in his I think, what do you call that? The public what do you call that in a quarterly
Q1?
No, in the quarterly investor call, or what is that thing called? you know, when the CEO has to like make, he's updating the investors.
That's a conference call.
Yeah, the conference call. He mentioned that they had put like $3 million into Ravencoin, and it has something to do with the TZero exchange. So it may be like another way to securitize assets using Ravencoin. So that's, and because Bruce Fenton is a advisor on TZero's project, that was one of the reasons that I looked at when I considered investing into Ravencoin. So pull up that tweet again by BTC Kyle, right?
Yeah.
So what else did he ask about?
I think those were the
okay.
security tokens, Polymath, Bnk To The Future, and TZero. Yes.
Okay. So basically, guys, just a quick summary, guys. Polymath is the major key player right now that is working on securitizing assets, and so that big projects and businesses can raise money and securitize their assets or use it to raise money by creating the standards that comply with the government regulations. That's what Polymath is doing. And then the BFF token and the Ravencoin are doing similar things to that. And then once these tokens are created, these securities tokens are created, then they can be traded on an exchange called TZero once that's available. Okay, and that's run by Patrick Byrne. He's been working on that for many years, so that's not something new. Okay, so we heard about him trying to do this since pretty much ever since we got into crypto. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's not something new. All right, so hopefully, guys, that helps you guys understand what the security, all these projects that are in the securities token bucket is about. Now, also we need to mention that they are, most of these projects that we discussed, with the exception of Ravencoin, were all for accredited investors. So that's why they were not, what do you call that? We did not have much coverage of it in the past because they were for accredited investors only. Okay, but now that the token is being traded on the, what do you call that? I think Polymath is, it's being traded on, where is it being traded at? On
KuCoin, I think.
KuCoin. There's a few places, you know.
Is it Binance? I think they just started on Binance. Not Binance, Bittrex.
Bittrex?
Yeah, I believe they're on Bittrex too.
Yeah, I saw it. So we don't pay attention to much of where it's being traded because it's a long-term position for us in our portfolio. So, so thanks for watching this video, guys. If you guys like it, give us a thumbs up. If you guys don't like it, give us a thumbs down and we'll stop talking about securities token. And if you're new to this channel and you like what we're broadcasting here and sharing with you guys with our research, then make sure you go to cryptocurrency.market right here and put a slash at the end of it, cryptocurrency.market/newsletter, and make sure that you join our newsletter, and we'll share more of these exciting research videos with you guys. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Mm-hmm.